We're ready for our introductory video. Call to order this Buncombe County Board of Commissioners meeting on August 19th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If anyone is using the bus or has parked in the parking deck next to us, we will validate your parking. You may pick it up as you leave on your way out, and it will be valid for today only. Ethics reminder to the board. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the board, all county commissioners have a duty to obey all applicable laws regarding official actions, to uphold the integrity and independence of the office, to avoid impropriety in the exercise of official duties, to faithfully perform the duties of the office, and to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which will have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact for any board member? Does any board member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this board today? I will ask under new business for a recusal to vote on the Futures Factory this afternoon. The AB Tech Foundation is the lead applicant on the grant application, and while this does not impact my personal finances, I will still ask for recusal to vote, and we will do that at the time on new business. Outside of that, all board members have a duty and an obligation to vote. We'll move on to our consent agenda this evening. Does anyone from the public have questions or comments about the consent agenda? All right, I think we need a motion this evening to add several items to our agenda. We are going to add a letter regarding Mission Hospital to our new business, and we will add our presentations from our 5 p.m. meeting that we did not get to, the Advanced Planning Storage Facility update with Robert Brown, and the schedule of values for reappraisal with Eric Kreger under presentations. We have a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Thank you. All right. All in favor? Yes, Commissioner Sloan. Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard someone else ask a question. All right. We have a motion to add these additional items and approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will move forward. All right, we move to public comment this evening, and the time limit for individual comment to the board is 3 minutes. Please state your name before you begin speaking. We approved the additions to the consent agenda. Kurt, do we need to do anything further? Okay, thank you. If your time expires during public comment, you may leave any question along with your name, address, and phone number with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on any matters during the public comment. This is your time to speak to us. All public comments must be directed to the board as a whole, not to individual commissioners, staff, or audience members. There is no clapping, snapping, or booing allowed. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board during the same meeting. Please note, a group may elect one person to speak for 10 minutes if 8 people in attendance relinquish their right to speak on the issue. Before moving into public comment, I know we have several folks from Save the Woods here. I just want to note at our 3 p.m. briefing, we did approve a letter that will be sent to Chancellor Van Noort stating the values of Buncombe County Commissioners and specifically asking that a member of the Board of Commissioners be selected to serve on the committee that was announced would be put into place by Chancellor Van Noort last week. So those were our requests. Those are on the Buncombe County Commissioner's website, and just really want to say thank you to those of you who have been so involved in that advocacy work. Your voices were heard, and we appreciate that. All right, with that said, David Clark is our first speaker.
Me again. David Clark from UNCA, also a neighbor of the urban forest. So I just want to thank you for your efforts on our behalf. It's been a pleasure to have that backing from you. There's two things I know about you. You are underpaid vastly, and I also know that members of the public do not always interact with you in the most positive of manners, and I think that's regrettable. So in our movement, we're really trying to tamp down the rancor and the hostility and keep things on a professional level. I know not every person in the public does that, so we thank you. And I'd also like to thank our group here, because they've really been inspiring, actually. So with all the rancor in national politics, all of that, we feel so disempowered and frustrated. But here is an example where we can meet someone who we consider to be an opponent and meet them eye to eye and be civil and get our point across. And that's been inspiring. It's one of the few cases where I've seen the constituents really leading the elected officials. And I have to say there's some real talent in this group. And I got to predict that some of these people may be running for office at some point. So all I would say is maybe don't get too comfortable in those seats up there, because you may have some company in this group. So it's been very inspiring, and I just want to thank you.
Hello, my name is Woody Davis, and I would like to start by thanking this commission for the letter that you have approved asking UNC Asheville to rethink their development plans. Your letter speaks eloquently about the necessity of bringing local government to the table and holding transparent dialogue with the community to develop plans that will truly strengthen UNC Asheville and our region as a whole. Now, I think the desirability of aligning major development with the wishes of the people who live nearby is self-evident, but there's another reason to keep putting pressure on UNCA until they get it right. The UNC system, historically, has had a very mixed track record of setting up these public-private development partnerships, and that's led directly to some really bad outcomes for UNC's constituent institutions and the communities surrounding them. For an example of how bad things can go, we need look no further than Western Carolina, which dealt with some really appalling issues around a millennial campus project to construct new student housing back in 2019 and 2020. After the project was awarded and construction began, the chosen developer's contractors immediately began racking up environmental violations due to shoddy erosion control. Over the next several months, 16 violations were issued as the hill on which the project was situated washed away, eventually triggering a landslide that caused considerable damage to existing student housing, required resident evacuations, and led to the condemnation of a building. Because it was a millennial campus project, neither the city of Cullowhee nor Jackson County were able to hold the developer to account. And remarkably, the administration of Western Carolina University itself said they were powerless to do anything, citing the terms of the ground lease that they had negotiated with the developer. Even more common, however, is UNC partnering with developers that are incapable of finishing a project at all. Again, we need look no further than Western Carolina, where the contract to build a multi-tenant medical office building was awarded in 2016 with no progress to show since then. WC's website still excitedly claims construction will begin by 2018 and directs interested tenants to contact an administrator who has not worked for the university since 2020. What these cautionary tales show is the necessity of universities taking their time when putting these projects together, creating thorough, detailed plans, and choosing reliable partners bound by clear contractual terms. UNCA has, up until last Thursday, taken the opposite tack, attempting to force through poorly thought out plans with minimal discussion and no local buy-in, choosing as their development partner the McCullers Group, a firm out of Ohio whose projects have had a tendency to suffer cost overruns, funding shortfalls, and cancellations, and who have never successfully completed the stadium project. So I hope that with all that in mind, you won't stop at sending a letter. It's imperative, as UNCA's newly announced commission works to consider alternate plans, that our elected officials continue to pressure the school to commit to transparently designed development that benefits both the school and the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Woody. Heather Rayburn. If all 8 people would stand so I can make sure that you're accounted for. Great. All right, thank you all. Heather, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Heather Rayburn. I'm a volunteer with Save the UNCA Woods, and I'm so thankful and grateful to everybody here today. UNCA, my alma mater, has stewardship over a publicly owned, rare, irreplaceable woods in a state where urban forests are disappearing faster than any other type forest in a world that's heating up quick. Last week, UNCA announced that they were taking a pause on negotiations with the Asheville City Soccer Club's Ohio developer for a few months to better vet their plan and start a commission to collect community input. This is welcome, but it's not a win. Our community has been lied to, disrespected, and ignored by people who have threatened our well-being and our climate plan goals. Sports and development won't solve UNCA's demographic and recruitment problems. What will save them is honoring their mission of education. Their green space is what makes them special and what they should use as a foundation to expand environmental programming. That's their number 2 most popular major, and use that for fundraising. However, if you pack your boards with people blind to science who only have one answer to everything, privatize public assets, destroy woods, you deprive yourself of creative, cheaper, and more moral solutions. And that's the same for listening to your stakeholders. UNCA is a publicly funded school sitting on public property. Chancellor Van Noort says she wants $29 million in public funding to level the urban forest to raise money for the school, but it will also benefit private developers through legislation that gives the public zero say in the project. It also bypasses local oversight of this project, and this is, to me, it's a broach of the golden rule and of the social contract. And people who do these kind of things want us to believe we're powerless so that we won't try to stop them. We're not powerless, and neither are the people we elected, and that's why I'm so thankful to you that you're here today to take a strong stand on this issue. Now, from the beginning, our community jumped into action to help stop this horrible and irreversible tragedy from happening to the woods. It's been super hard work, but a beautiful and inspiring thing to see, and it shows how precious and loved this urban forest is and how unique Buncombe County is, all of our people, and how we'll fight for what's important. Now, here's why we're going to continue our campaign and vigilance as if this announcement didn't happen. To date, Chancellor Van Noort still hasn't registered to vote here in Buncombe County, and our fear is that she's going to collect bonuses to wreck North Asheville and then go back to her farm in Hillsborough while we suffer and pay for the increased heat and the erosion and storm runoff and pollution, habitat destruction, the traffic from their proposal. And the people, we're just worried the people in Raleigh behind her either don't care or don't understand how we suffered during the hurricane and all the habitat we lost. I think if they did, they wouldn't be treating us like this. UNCA lied to us about having development plans. They wasted our time and energy with their fake listening sessions, and they have refused to meet their legal obligation to answer our public documents requests so we would know what the heck's going on. So they haven't been working in good faith to date. Now, I can maybe understand people in Raleigh or outsiders doing this kind of thing. What I don't understand are the locals on the UNCA Board of Trustees and the people at the Asheville City Soccer Club that they would do this to their own community. The soccer club can't fill seats in the stadium they have at UNCA now, and they're acting like their success doesn't depend on community goodwill and support. Now, the ecological damage, and why I'm spending so much time here, that we face, that we're talking about with UNCA's project, the threat we face from further degradation of the environment is not theoretical. It's real, it's existential, and it's happening so fast that scientists are calling it a four-alarm fire. It overshadows nearly every social problem we have. I was born in Asheville in 1967, and when I was young, the slogan for the chamber used to be "Cool Green Asheville," and it was cool, and it was green, and it was lush. And in fact, I remember wearing a windbreaker during the summer a lot of the times. And also, my family would go to Florida, would drive down there, and from here to Tampa, so many insects would hit the windshield that it would just be a smear, and my dad would have to pull over every little bit to clean the windshield, and it's just so he could see to drive. And that's changed so fast and so significantly that my 19-year-old niece has no frame of reference for numbers, insects in that number. People move to Asheville and they have no frame of reference for how extensively this region, one of the most biodiverse in the world, has changed and how much wildlife habitat we've lost. And I've had a front row seat to it because I was born here, and I've lived near UNCA for 31 years. And I worked at the Botanical Gardens for 10 years. I do butterfly counts for the Carolina Butterfly Society, and I do surveys for the Carolina Butterfly Monitoring Project. So I keep very close tabs on the insect life in my yard and my neighborhood. And witnessing the insect collapse up close and personal has been extremely frightening, especially in the last few years. Scientists recently released a huge study reporting that butterfly abundance has plummeted 22% in just 20 years. And so they saw that over 100 butterflies have dropped by more than 50% in that time. That makes my toes curl, because insects are critical to our food web. This catastrophic decline comes from another number of things, including habitat loss of our native plants, all the chemicals that we use, and climate change, to name some of the things. And to thrive, butterflies need native host plants, including trees, and lots of them planted together, wildlife corridors, areas free of chemical sprays. They need leaf litter left on the ground so they can overwinter in their different stages. And UNCA owes it to their stakeholders to conserve and build on already cleared land and underutilized space, instead of sprawling over the very thing that makes them special and that these kids come here for. Now, the UNCA Woods is full of invasives. It needs restoration. But even as compromised as it is, it's storing huge amounts of carbon. It's providing habitat and a sanctuary for life. I've now documented 14 species of butterfly in there. There's probably more. I don't normally survey that area, but I've started. Another neighbor has documented more than 100 bird species in those woods. It's a learning lab for the students where UNCA and 3 different neighborhood communities can enjoy peaceful, quiet woodlands walk without burning time and gas to get to a hike. Okay, on September 6th, starting at 9:30, I'm inviting everybody here. We're going to get together and we're going to wrap the UNCA urban forest just like the people before us wrapped 11 acres downtown in 1980. Then foolish developers and out-of-town carpetbaggers wanted to replace our irreplaceable with obscene. Scores of beautiful old buildings with suburban-style mall. Thank goodness they won. And thank you so much for standing up for the woods and for our community.
Thank you, Heather. Sandy News? Sandy? Oh, okay.
There, I'm Dr. Sandy Newest, and I'm happy to be here again. I want to just really appreciate you all for the letter, and just really appreciate you all for hearing us and for listening to us. And I guess I want to just kind of speak again. I want to do a blend of like human plus facts, right? I am a Five Points resident. I own 2 houses in the area. I've raised my children area. Thank you so much for whatever you did to stop the stadium, because I really didn't want to raise my kids with a bunch of people like wandering through my neighborhood on the way to a stadium, right? But I also really want to speak for the woods. And I want to kind of get it back to this, kind of reiterating what the other speakers have said about the importance of considering how important this green space is for us. Heather just did a great job of speaking for the butterflies and for the trees and the species, and that's really important. But now I want to spend a minute speaking about the human pieces. I happen to have a background studying the effects on humans of nature connection, and I want to make sure we don't lose that. So nature, you may or may not know that there is a great body of research that really shows that there are cognitive benefits for human in green space, physical benefits largely related to reductions in blood pressure and how that relates to the stress response, which has a whole sequelae of health-related issues, pro-social behavior, connection, stress, and resilience, mostly around cortisol, and the literal effects of nature on humans, the human psyche, the mental health, the cognitive, and the physical self. So keeping in mind what we're asking for is responsible development, ideally that keeps the woods as a resource for Asheville. So thinking about how this affects the humans, I also know that you all as county commissioners are here not only to protect the environment, but to think about development and how that affects Asheville and the county itself. So there is also a developing body of research that I want you to at least be aware of. I obviously don't have the chance to summarize this here, but that green space in communities, which includes actual patches of urban forest and greenways and trees in nature, actually have a profound effect on the county and the city itself. So you may or may not be aware that there's actually evidence to support that increased home values in communities that have prioritized access to green space in such a way that prioritizing the forest in some sort of managed type of development that sustains it as accessible green space for the university and for the residents could do. So on the average, it raises home values by $9,000 per home, which actually brings in approximately $54 million in taxes into communities. So increased social ties to community. When people have access to green space, they feel more connected to their community. When they feel more connected to their community, they're also more likely to support local businesses. So these threads actually carry through in a monetary level. So I just want you to notice that businesses can also maximize this. So thank you so much. Okay, great, thank you.
We appreciate it. Clark Duncan.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, thank you for this opportunity to be with you tonight. My name is Clark Duncan, and I'm proud to serve as Executive Director of the Economic Development Coalition. We celebrate this year our 32nd year, proud partnership with this Commission, with our city, and with the Asheville Area Chamber. I come tonight to talk on behalf of the AB Tech Future Factory. On July 1st of this year, our board launched the AVL 5x5 Plan for 2030. An economic strategy for recovery for this community. And across countless days of research and focus groups and workshops and interviews, this plan represents our common ground goals to recover every business in Buncombe County and every residential household in Buncombe County. We were told time and time again that it will not be enough to arrive in 2030 and say that we have just caught up with where we were the morning of September 27th. So this plan reflects that sense of urgency. It reflects that ambition with both the very latest in data-tested best practices in economic development, but also innovation and creativity necessary to accelerate not only our recovery, but build upon the great strides we have made together as a region over the past many years in wage growth, in STEM job creation, in industry diversification, and in growing a skilled and thriving and inclusive workforce, and of course, in tax base expansion. Tonight, you'll hear about one such recovery project featured prominently in the 5x5 plan, the Future Factory initiative spearheaded by Dr. Gossett tonight and in partnership with partners all across our community will not only prepare thousands of our residents and their families and their communities to seize the skills necessary for economic mobility, but it will strengthen our manufacturing base at a time when it's most needed to better compete in an increasingly digital and technology-driven and global economy. I want to thank you for your long-time partnership and stewardship of our coalition and ask tonight for your support of this grant application, which will leverage significant private sector and federal dollars to catalyze this important vision of recovery for the health of Buncombe County. I'm incredibly excited about what we can accomplish together. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Clark. Lake Silver.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam County Manager. Great to be with you today. This is kind of a little bit of an introduction for me. While I know all of you commissioners, I wanted to introduce myself as the new field representative for Congressman Chuck Edwards for Buncombe County. I say specifically new to Buncombe County because the last 2.5 years I've spent in the far tail end of the West, Haywood County West, serving the congressman and serving the constituents of Western North Carolina. No one is sadder than me that Tommy Lauder is no longer with our office. He took a fantastic personal growth opportunity, and I'm so happy for him. But because he did that, I am now covering Buncombe and McDowell County as well. So I'm here to say hello, to tell you all that I will always be a resource for you and the constituents of Buncombe County, and the congressman is always here to help. I also want to remind your constituents that if they have any issue with the federal government, we have caseworkers on standby, FEMA issues, Social Security issues, veterans issues, anything that we can do, we're always available, and that you can contact us at edwards.house.gov. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Lake. Are there any other folks who wish to speak but did not sign up? All right. Thank you all. All right, Manager Pender, I believe you have a report for us this evening.
I do, and as DK makes her way up, I do want to quickly remind the board that yesterday we sent you an awareness email that we had some folks being deployed. The state had called us up to staff an urban search and rescue team. This morning, they're deployed, and they're going to be staged in Washington, North Carolina. They have reached Washington, and they're waiting for their orders. So they plan on being there for about 7 days, but have the ability to extend if they need to extend. So I just want to let you know our thoughts and prayers are with the folks on the East Coast because they were here for us when we needed them last year. And so we're grateful that we can offer assistance as well. So our team is there. There are 22 members of that USAR team from across Buncombe County, and they're waiting in Washington, North Carolina right now for more orders. So I just want to give you that update. And with that, I'll ask DK to introduce our intern.
Good evening, Chair Edwards and Commissioners. I am excited on behalf of the County Manager's Office to introduce the third fellow from School of Government, Lee for North Carolina. We've had 3 fellows so far, and we definitely kept them busy. Daisha Cheney is the lead for North Carolina Fellow for Buncombe County. She graduated from the University of North Carolina, Asheville with a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science and a minor in Legal Studies. While at UNC Asheville, Daisha was a Division I athlete on the women's soccer team, earning both academic and athletic recognition, including a distinction in political science and academic all-district honors. Daisha also led discussions on team culture, leadership, and community engagement as an appointed team leadership committee member. Her commitment to community and public service led her to serve as senior intern with a nonprofit here in Buncombe County called Buncombe Alternatives Incorporated. and she is a voting member of Buncombe County's Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. As I mentioned before, Daisha will be with us through June of 2026. Just a couple of her major projects will be working on Helene recovery. She'll be working with our planning department on the Swannanoa Small Area Plan, and working with our public safety communications department as they enhance and build out their training academy. So please help me welcome Daisha. She'll say a couple words, but she is interested in meeting all of you. So if you have time on your calendars, she'd love to get some time with you as well.
Hi, I'm Daisha. I didn't know I was going to give a little speech, but I just want to introduce myself. This is my third week. I'm really excited, and I've seen all of you because I've been to Board of Commissioners meeting, and I also saw Amanda. And I'm just really excited to work with you guys and to work for the county and do all this great work that I know that you guys have done already and that the county manager and the assistant county managers have done. So I'm really excited to learn from these great people.
Thank you, Daisha. We are excited to have you join us for the next year. And as your fellow Bulldog alumni, I'm claiming a steak to meet with you first. Thanks for taking time to be with us and to meet with the individual commissioners. All right, we have our presentations that we added to our agenda this evening. Manager Pender, do you have a order for us? Okay, it looks like Robert Brown
Yes,
is
ma'am. Robert
coming
is
forward.
first, and then
Thank you.
Eric.
Good evening, Robert.
Commissioners, Madam Chair, I appreciate you giving me the floor to talk about our advanced planning study for a storage facility for Buncombe County. We've been at the process for about 8 months. The agenda is the advanced planning storage needs, other scope of work, options to meet the storage needs, and then the next steps and a timeline. Of course, any questions that you might have. So out of 40 departments, there are 45 groups that we have separately interviewed and more than one time, multiple times, to gain the input from them about what they feel their needs are, what they currently have and what their needs are. 28 of the 45 groups have identified needs for storage space. 17 groups have confirmed that they have enough and they don't need more. The groups that have said they need some space are listed on this slide. Too many to just go through, but it's in the presentation. And also the groups that have said they do not. Of the groups that have asked for some storage space, I want to kind of clarify the word storage. Actually, it is also an operational building. So for a lot of the folks that are on this list, they also have personnel that would be in this facility full time. That's election services, the sheriff's department, emergency management services, libraries, mobile and preparedness teams combined, and in surplus and records management, that square footage is listed. Other scope of work in this, what would be this project or that is held within this study, is the staff parking, the visitor parking, vehicle evidence secure parking, sheriff backup vehicle parking, exterior refrigerated evidence containers, of which we already own, and we would relocate, trailer parking, van parking, bus and RV parking, loading dock area, a scanning area, a break area, a document shredding area, staging, receiving area, and receiving manager's offices, along with a number of other in which you see listed here. So what I'm trying to say is, beyond the fact that you have a floor area for somebody to have documents, there are also support spaces that you have to account for in the overall project, vehicular spaces that you have to account for, site, floor plan, as well as, or I should say, site plan as well as the floor plan. So it's more comprehensive than just a study of where we're storing things. Okay, advanced planning options to meet the needs. Because I think the number at the top is going to kind of floor you a little bit. The initial study reveals that we are looking at using standard and high-density storage at approximately 102,000 square feet. And that would be the total facility. Options to meet those needs. Build a new building, which is kind of what the study is looking at in the advanced planning portion. Buy an existing building and renovate. Lease an existing building and renovate. Footprint, a single building or multiple buildings. Now, the estimated cost. This fluctuates, but kind of currently, new buildings, rough estimated total project costs, and that means all expenses, are about $350 to $400 a square foot. And that, again, includes parking, generators, and all soft cost design, surveys, etc. Purchase a building, an older building's about $90 a square foot. Newer buildings are run at around $140 a square foot. That varies relative to where they are located. There's also, in that factor, you should also accommodate the upfit cost, because you never purchase a building that's exactly like you want it. You have to change it to meet your needs. And those costs run around $75 to $125 per square foot. If we lease a building in our area, that cost is about $8.50 to $10 a square foot. So approximately $850,000 to $1 million a year to lease space to accommodate what we are currently saying we need. Next steps in this process. Well, the first thing is complete the advanced planning process that we're in. Post that advanced planning, evaluate the best option to pursue, whether that's build a new building as identified in the study we're carrying out, buy an existing building and renovate to accommodate space identified in the study, lease a building or buildings to accommodate scope identified in the study. Once we actually identify the direction we're going to go to or go towards, we need to really identify what the budget would be for that, the total ticket price of that. And when we look at the projects we develop, you'll hear me say total project. A lot of people discuss per square foot cost. Usually that's talking about the construction specifically. There are a large amount of expenses that happen in order for you to get to bid day. And so that's total project cost, meaning all the soft costs that are included. So if it's a new building, we'll begin design. If it's purchase a building, we will continue to review for properties available. And if lease, we will continue to review properties. All right. Total project estimated schedule key dates. So between now and October, complete this advanced planning process. December of 26, if the project is approved to move forward, then we will include in the budget submission for fiscal year 27 for capital funding for the construction. September of 27, complete design and be ready for a bid in September of 27. The design fees are already included in fiscal year 24 allocation. So we don't have to wait on that. That would just move forward straight into it. February of 27, we would relocate elections from 50 Cox. We've already relocated 52, Cox Avenue, the ID Bureau. We did that a couple of weeks ago. And by the end of February, that site would be available for the affordable housing site, and as soon as we're able to get all the equipment and operations relocated. Just to go back to why we're doing the study, a lot of it is hinged on affordable housing projects, and the properties they will consume are also areas we are storing a lot of our stuff, Allport, elections, etc. So if everything moves forward smoothly, we would start construction in November of 27 and be finished with construction by May of 29. And then in July of 29, we would begin moving the different groups in. It's not instantaneous. It takes scheduling, being able to interrupt their operations and get them moved and get them back up. So that's over, that first quarter at least. Any questions?
Other questions for Robert? All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Eric Kreger has a presentation on tax reappraisal for 2026.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for commissioners for having me here today. So I'm going to figure out how to work this really quick. There we go. Okay. So I'm here for two items today, the reappraisal 2026 update, and also to do a formal presentation of the schedule of values for the 26 reappraisal. So, file reappraise. So we'll touch base on that. So because the NCDR requires us to do so, we received our notice to reappraise within 3 years on January 1 of 2023 because we fell below the 85% threshold of market value versus assessed value. Just a reminder, our values currently reflect January 1 of 2021, the 21 schedule of values. And the General Statute 105-283 states that all property shall be appraised at its true value in money, meaning what it can get in an open, free market transaction. So currently our reappraisal schedule for January 1, 26, because we pushed it back a year due to Helene, and January 1 of 2029, still on schedule, will follow to get us back on that 4-year cycle that we were originally set for. So, some of the improvements we made on this reappraisal, I just wanted to remind everyone what we went through. So, real quick, these are all enhancements based on the ad hoc reappraisal committee recommendations, the Keene study recommendations, our internal staff, and feedback from our residents and our local businesses. So, first off, luxury and modest properties focus. That's a big talking point. Those are we have a team focused on those properties and the data quality audits and site visits that accompany them. So we have a team reviewing those parcels, reviewing all those transactions going back all the way back to 2021, and also, site visiting those luxury properties and also the modest properties in our system. Land and building value valuation enhancements, updated data-driven work files and reports. So we're just enhancing all our back-end tables and all of our. I won't get too far into the weeds on that kind of thing. It is my thing. I enjoy talking about. But so we're just enhancing the GIS data, the GIS workflow that we have, our data files, and our staff training and our modeling that we do in-house. Our back-end improvements to allow for fine-tuning, same thing. There's many tables in our CAMA system that we have, which is our computer-aided mass appraisal system that we have in-house that helps us appraise properties. There's many things in there that we're training on, and we're interacting with this reappraisal. So we're just making it better, able to fine-tune values a little bit better. And a revaluation of all land components across the county. So what we're doing, we're really focusing on our land values across the county. We're basically stripping off all the structures, revaluing our land, putting the structures back on, valuing our structures, and then looking at market data to see where at in the county those are and what they would go in an open market. So market area audits and delineation. Hands-on data quality audit and review of each area. And it goes hand in hand. We're reviewing the transactions of what's going on in the market in each individual area, all of our market areas in the county, looking back at all the listings for those, making sure that we fall in line. We're trying to get these values to 100% of market value. GIS based, I touched on that earlier. So big part of that market delineation. So some of the feedback we had was it's difficult to tell where these market areas lie. There's houses that are next to each other and they're considered to be in different market areas or neighborhoods. So we're working on that process. We're fixing that. We're making sure that it makes sense geographically and also value-wise based on the use of the property and in where they lie in the county. Consolidation with like and adjoining areas, it goes back to that, the GIS aspect of this. So we're just making sure that the boundaries make sense. And they all fall in line, and making sure that we're doing a good job of getting that GIS data out there to make sense to the public. So something that's not on here as well, I wanted to touch base on is our public service enhancements that we're doing. We are currently working with our CAPE, our IT team, to just revamp our appeals website, making that more accessible and less technical. We're also working with them on revamping a reappraisal notice to make it more informative, less technical, easier to understand, and also informing the public of all the resources that we have available to them on those documents on that website. And we've been working on articles, things of that matter, to make sure we get the information out there as needed. So we also have some technical tools out there that help with folks' appeals and things like Comper, where folks can pull up comparable properties to theirs and help with their appeals.
Eric, before you go on, can I ask a question about this slide?
I have one too.
Yes.
I may forget as it goes on. If I'm remembering correctly, one of the recommendations, right, was that we actually hire a luxury property appraiser. Is that correct? So that's like one of the things that we didn't have before that is now focused on those properties? Is that
Yes. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Yes, so we were able to add 5 positions since 2021. A lot of those folks are fee appraisers that we were able to add to our residential staff. We don't just have one appraiser assigned to it. We have a team of folks that are assigned to it. So I don't think that's really a one-person job as we got going into the work. So we wanted to get more hands on that, more eyes on it.
okay? And then can you speak more to the fine tuning, like the need for that, kind of what the need was there and what you're doing? You said the back end data improvements to allow for fine tuning.
Yes, so basically what we're doing staff training, we're doing modeling. We have a contract with a vendor that does machine learning as well to help us audit our data, not value our data, but help us audit our data to make sure that we're getting different eyes on it. And the good thing about the machine learning thing was a recommendation back to the ad hoc committee was take the person out of it, and that's what that does for us. So that helps us with that. Those are kind of the high-level things. And there's also sections of our computer system that we hadn't accessed yet, and we are doing that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sloan.
And Eric, I think I just wanted to ask some of Terry's questions in a different way. As you know, before your time, there was some criticism of the county or concern around our methodologies, especially around luxury property. So I think my main question for this slide, and just as we go through this process over the next few months, is kind of what are we doing now that we didn't do last time? What have we changed since the previous time? So I'm curious what else you could tell us about kind of the focus on those higher end properties, and how are we looking at this differently, or what are we doing differently than we?
Yeah, I think try to answer your question the best I can.
Yeah.
So I think I can speak about more experienced appraisers on staff. We have fee appraisers that have come on, more of those. We also have higher skilled data technicians on staff. They're able to access data and build reports for us in a different way than we had back then. I was the only data person on the staff at that time. I have 4 or 5 right now that are capable of doing it. So folks that we've hired, but also folks that have stepped up, trained. So hope that helps answer that. But also we just enhanced our capabilities through vendor software and our internal skills.
Thank you.
Eric, I think obviously there was a lot of focus on luxury and modest properties throughout this work. There was also some recommendations around manufactured homes, modular homes. Has any work occurred in that realm as well?
Yes, we have been pulling information on those, looking at those as compared to real estate, personal property, and making sure those fall in line. That is a difficult thing in our office. So those properties are unique in a different way, and they are difficult to appraise. So, we are working on that.
Thank you.
One
That's
thing
what
I would,
we're calling modest homes.
Is that okay.
yeah, one thing to
I
add on
appreciate
was
that because it specifically said those areas. So I'm glad to know that that's what modest homes means in this report. That question.
one thing to add too is we did not have a reappraisal analyst on staff in 21, so we do now.
Eric, I'll say I'm really excited to see these improvements, and that all that you're doing to make sure that this process is as accurate as possible. For clarification, did you say that we have an ability now to run an internal audit to ensure that, so if we value a home and then it sells, you're able to look at how closely we were to getting that right and use that to modify and make sure we get that right?
Absolutely. So we're able to perform, it's called a ratio, we perform ratio studies before and after reappraisal. So yes, we will be looking at that, and ratio is assessed value compared to the sale price.
And so that helps ensure that homes aren't overvalued or undervalued.
Exactly. And you track those after the reappraisal, one, to see things that you might have missed in the previous reappraisal, but also to see where the market's going for the future reappraisal. So there's two reasons for them. But you check those sales with the listing compared to what we have in our system for each property to make sure that we have all the square footage and all the components correct on the home or the business. So
I have one more, but I can save it till the end. Thank you.
And I just want to be cautious as well, because the market goes where the market goes, correct? So the reappraisal is of one day, one snap in time. Once we put that value in January, what happens to the market? So I don't want people to get confused that our sale price might move away from that tax base after January 1st, because it is one snapping point in time.
that's right. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder.
Well, that leads, I'll go ahead and ask the second question I had, because that leads to that. How are you seeing Helene impact these values? Do you, any clues or signs as to if the storm?
What I can share right now is we're still tracking those. We're tracking the damage level of those still as they pull permits. We're going to perform site visits on those again. We continuously watch those. So I don't really have an answer to the exact value effect right now. What I can say is that damage aspect of those are going to be accounted for in the reappraisal.
You couldn't have teed up his next two slides any better with that question.
And Eric, you can speak a little bit to current year, because we recognize some of that.
Yep, I got you. It's on my next slide. Here we are. Okay, so what about Helene? So Helene hit. So we, in order to produce the methodology to assess these, this is something we've never had to do before. We reached out several sources. There's a FEMA damage assessment manual where there's a matrix in place in there, and it had guidance from our IEEO members and the research library there. School of Government reached out to us and connected us with resources, primarily our coastal counties. Dare County was a major help. Onslow County was a major help. Helped us come up with what they do. They share information. Obviously, they have a much more experience in that. And number one rule in appraisal is to reach out to your peers and try to line up to make sure, get more eyes on your process to make sure it makes sense across the board and that we're being equitable. So, touch on what Avril just mentioned. New values were applied to the Helene impacted parcels and updated in our system for these tax bills. Got mine in the mail yesterday. So they're out there. But though that Helene damage, if we collected it when we did those assessments, or if the public reported it to us, they should be reflected on your tax bills if there was still damage on January 1 of 25. So what's happening now? We'll continue monitoring the Helene damaged parcels to make sure that we're not losing track of those, that we're not pulling the damage off of them when there's still damage there. Tracking the permit status, and also still collecting that information if it's still out there. I encourage the public to reach out to us and talk to us about their property. Outreach, coming this fall, winter, into the next spring, we're going to have several outreach opportunities. We're going to try to get out to community meetings, partner up with local groups, try to get out there and speak to the public about the tax assessment process and what's coming. Media and social media as well. Site visits. It's reappraisal, so we're going to do a lot more site visits you would in a normal year. So we're going to get out, you'll see our cars out there with our county logo on them. Staff's going to have their county ID on them, so you may see them out there. Our appraisers do not go into homes, so you might see us on a property. They will not step foot in your home. Audits and data enhancements. Sort of what I was talking about earlier. Enhancements in the process. Lots of dashboards, lots of new maps, lots of things like that. Performance studies are recommended by IWO. That's things like ratio studies. Those are our primary source. There's a manual out there that IWO publishes, and we adhere to that. And a reappraisal consultant. We're currently working with a reappraisal consultant on an as-needed basis. They perform regular meetings with us. They've reviewed our residential process. They reviewed our commercial process. They've also, we're talking to them about land valuations, but you know, they're helping with our analysis of our commercial sector as well, hotels and apartments, and doing an independent review, like I said, of our residential process. So, let's pause for a minute. If there's any questions about that, I'm going to start on the schedule of values.
I guess, I know this will be a conversation we continue, but is there anything else you would add in terms of recommendations from the ad hoc committee that stands out to you as something that's changed that we've done to improve?
Well, it all, like, from those committees and all the different recommendations, Keene and what we hear from the public really boils down to two things. It's data. You have to have solid data in assessment. That's the thing. But also you have to inform our residents and our businesses. You have to be upfront and transparent and be willing to get out there and talk to the community and answer questions. So, you know, and another piece you're saying that I take very seriously, that we're trying to improve, is I think we have a really good appeals process and website. But there's still room for improvement there, and I'm very fortunate to have a great CAPE IT team to work with to get that done. So that's something I'm excited about, that push out. That wasn't exactly a recommendation because we already had the current one in place, but that is something we're improving on.
Got it. Thank you.
Before you move on, to your point, yes, I think Commissioner Wells touched on this. Staffing was a big one. Eric mentioned we've hired 5 people since their last reval, all specifically around data and or appraisal systems. And we also purchased the audit system that he talked about through SAS. We've invested in Comper. So Eric, there was a lot of investment that was made as well. And Comper is what we talked about that goes around and take pictures of everything. We've done flyovers of all properties. So Eric, remind me.
Yes, that is Eagle View, and the street level photography is actually Cyclomedia too. That's another one. Yeah.
Right. And so there have been lots of investments in software, people, and making sure our data is correct as it goes in. We've done a lot more site visits, to his point, and we're continuing to do that. We've invested as well as in the multiple listing, the data on sales, all the sales. We're making sure someone is checking on that. And so he's coming into the role, but I've been living the role.
Yeah, right,
So there's
right.
a lot of things that we have tried to make sure that we've done to make sure all the criticism that we heard, we took to heart. And we wanted to make sure that we can address all aspects of what we were hearing in our community. And when we put out a value, we want to make sure we can stand behind that value and said, here's why we did what we did. So we've been very intentional in the investments that were made. So thank you to the board throughout the 21, 22, and 23, and not 24, but those 3 years of investments in the budget you've made to make sure that this process is much more transparent and is much more documented of what we're trying to accomplish.
It's great to hear. Thank you.
And I'll just add, I think those truly are investments, because the more we get this right, the more we have an equitable system where people are actually paying their fair share. So thank you.
Yeah, I think all these things have improved in efficiency as well, so it's been great. Schedule of values. So this is a slide. So state statute 105-317 states that this board shall review and approve the schedule of values before January 1 of the reappraisal year in which it takes place. Another part of that statute mentions that the assessor must supply that schedule of values to act as a manual for the reappraisal process. So what's this schedule of values do? Like I said, acts as a manual for our appraisal team. It's out there to the public to review as well. It explains the basics and requirements of this process, promotes equity in assessments, and promotes transparency in the process. So if it's not in the schedule, we cannot do it. We cannot make arbitrary or fake adjustments to properties just to do it. So schedule keeps us in line there. It's guardrails. So what the schedule does, it explains 3 approaches to value that we adhere to: cost approach for unique properties, churches, government buildings like the one we're in, and special industrial buildings. Those do not participate in open market regularly, so there's not really market data out there, so you use cost of construction. Sales comparison, it's the most common type. Residential parcels, see those, go to a realtor, get a grid, what your house is compared against if you're trying to sell. So condominiums and townhomes. And the income approach, income producing properties, apartments, hotels, and warehouses and stores. So we align on the end, and you can see this in the Keene study as well. He describes this method. It's the market adjusted cost. Very common approach for all assessment offices. So take the land value, what's that land worth wherever it is in the county? That's a market area multiplier. What's the cost of construction? What's that build and sell for in other areas of the county? And then add that all up for the total value of your property. In a nutshell, that's what we do. So a scenario, real quick. This is an example, just to make clear. This is not a house in the county. This is not data on a house in the county. I came up with this information. So this is a typical calculation grid for a single-family home. On the left, there's components. That's the number of kitchens and baths, square footage that you have in a home, and the data that's applied to it. And on the right is the rates. That's the information that comes out of the schedule of values. It tells you what each bathroom's worth, what each square footage is worth, those kinds of things. So you go down through there, you'll see, I won't say everything here, but you can see what each component of that house is worth, or what we're at rate-wise. And then at the bottom, you'll see construction quality and condition. So quality of construction, we have different varying degrees of that. That can affect, that has a factor assigned to it. C is your baseline, starter home. And it varies from there. So 1 would be a C. B is a little bit higher grade construction, so it'd be a 1.25. And it also goes south of 1 as well. And a G, down there in the condition, so condition is what condition your property's in. So N would be a normal condition, G would be good condition, and that affects your depreciation. So all those components added together and multiplied create the value on that home. So also it matters is what neighborhood your home is. I didn't touch on this earlier. So that would be your market area adjustment for your building and your land. So tax neighborhood, market area, same thing. So also in the schedule of values, you'll see a present use value guide. So present use value are programs for agriculture, horticulture, forest land, and wildlife. They set the Department of Revenue sets the rates for those and the requirements to join those programs. We just administer and adhere to that. So we do not adjust those values. They tell us what they should be each reappraisal. And what's next? So what's next today? This is a formal presentation to you all. Tomorrow morning, we will advertise in the public paper the September 2nd date for the public hearing. So we have that advertisement going live tomorrow that we will have a public hearing regarding the reappraisal on September 2nd. That'll be the next time I'll be here. Then after that, on the 16th, after you've all reviewed the schedule, you have the option to adopt the resolution to adopt a schedule take place that day, which would then open the appeal period. And then once that closes, the schedule will be final. So, any questions?
I think we asked every question we could.
Great. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lillian. Our first item under new business is our budget amendment for the future factory grant match, and John Hudson is going to kick us off.
Good evening. Before I discuss this budget amendment, I believe we have a presentation. Dr. Gossett is here from AB Tech.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I bring you good news. When I invited myself to this meeting several weeks ago, I had several items to discuss. The first thing, I would like to say thank you for supporting the repair of our cooling tower. The people that work and live in that building also, thank you. Tonight I want to talk about the Futures Factory. Make sure I hit the right button. There we go. You already know the impact that we had encountered with the storm. Unemployment, lost workforce, lost revenue. 90% of our businesses tell us they were going to lose revenue, and they expected that to happen. Businesses continue to face financial strain, uneven recovery, and persistent challenges. You know these statistics, and I know that you're working to address these issues through your existing strategic plan and the 2030 strategic plan that you are working on now. I know commissioners want to diversify our economy. I know you want to develop a long-range strategy to reduce our reliance on just one or two business sectors. I know that you, among other things, want to invest in skilled trades, apprenticeships, expand job training, workforce development programs, and improve economic resiliency. I know you're looking to support small businesses and workers through living wage initiatives, support for small business owners, workforce reskilling for displaced workers. Above all, you're working to support initiatives and business development opportunities that lead to high-wage careers, better benefits, and entry-level jobs that pay a living wage. Please allow us to help you with those efforts. If anything, the disaster revealed Western North Carolina's true strength, our poise, and our stubbornness that will serve us well in the future. This spirit provides exactly what we need for sustained growth. That growth will depend on a diversified cluster of businesses to take the economic pressure off our beloved arts, hospitality, and tourism sectors. The same resilience and collaborative spirit that enabled rapid response will drive manufacturing excellence and innovation. Leveraging our resilience to create long-term manufacturing leadership, moving from disaster recovery to economic transformation and diversification of our economy is vital for our future. This is a region ready to lead the manufacturing revitalization with a partnership investment. So what does the Western North Carolina Futures Factory look like? 70,000 square feet of advanced manufacturing innovation facility located on 13 acres of donated land at the Biltmore Park West facilities across the river from your Ferry Road project. There will be workforce training, research and development, from proof of concept to commercialization, collaboration between education and industry, all under one roof. Now, you may be saying, why does AB Tech need 70,000 square feet? You've got Inca in that side of the county. Well, as you know, not all square footage is equal. What I envision is 30-foot ceilings, open floor plan, nimble and flexible square footage that we can bring to task to help our manufacturers perform the research, the development. We can perform the training that they need to address Industry 4.0 and 5.0 initiatives. 25% of that square footage will be dedicated space to AB Tech to for us to do our advanced manufacturing training. 75% of that square footage will be leased space, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The economic impact analysis conducted by the North Carolina Department of Commerce underscores how the Western North Carolina Futures Factory can translate into recovery and growth. Commerce estimates that the Futures Factory will lead to over 1,000 additional manufacturing jobs across the region over the next 10 years. This will be done through faster technological adaptation, tighter supply chain linkages, and a constant flow of upskilled talent. With indirect effects included, the Department of Commerce estimates that Western North Carolina will gain approximately 2,750 total jobs, many of which are at or above state income averages. Your investment of $5 million from our Article 46 funds, coupled with $5 million from AB Tech from an earlier project that never materialized, will serve to match for a $30 million grant to build a physical plant, which is projected to add approximately $360 million to the gross domestic product in the next 10 years. In short, by embedding Industry 4.0 and 5.0 capabilities in hundreds of small and mid-sized manufacturing facilities, the Futures Factory turns a strategic federal grant into a permanent engine of high-quality jobs, durable wage growth, and economic resilience. The Futures Factory emerges from a foundation of unprecedented regional collaboration, neighbors working together to build a vision of something that we could not accomplish alone. This project supports two comprehensive economic development strategies. You've already heard from Clark Duncan and his support from the EDC and their Asheville 5x5 strategic plan. Land of Sky Regional Council comprehensive economic development strategy also is addressing these issues. As you know, both of these plans were developed through extensive community engagement that demonstrate our region's readiness to lead a manufacturing revitalization. Likewise, the Futures Factory supports both the county strategic plan of economic vitality and AB Tech strategic plan of preparing the workforce for the jobs of the future. This new facility will function as a seamless platform, training center, applied technology laboratory, a pilot plant to test new products, technology scale-up for our manufacturers, and a demonstration stage where ideas advance from concept to commercialization and workers move from the classroom to high-skilled careers. AB Tech will execute and deliver curricula on-site to upskill learners, producing digital and cyber-aware technicians proficient in new manufacturing protocols. We will pioneer and develop new associate degrees, diplomas, and certificates to support manufacturing jobs of the future, as well as adapt our existing programs to stay current to industry demands. 6 UNC universities who have engineering programs will work side by side with industry partners to integrate university research, prototyping products, pilot production lines to commercialize new processes for regional manufacturers. Companies of every size can pilot digital manufacturing capabilities they otherwise would not be able to do. You can see on the screen the many individuals, groups, agencies, and businesses who have expressed their support for Western North Carolina Futures Factory. I'd like to thank my Board of Trustees, some are here tonight, our AB Tech Foundation Board, some of whom are here tonight, our business partners who are here in support of this effort. The land has been identified. Memorandums of understanding have been drafted. Operating commitments are in hand to provide operational support for the Futures Factory. Each partner brings their individualized expertise in curriculum development, instructional delivery, research, development, business intelligence, networks, land development to the task. The Futures Factory will be able to respond to industry demand from the day we open the doors. The grant includes letters of support from manufacturers, colleges, universities, the EDC, the Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Commerce. Governor Stein has mentioned this project in some of his remarks. Both U.S. Senators and Representative Edwards are in support. To be honest, this kind of support is unprecedented. We have letters of intention from an agency called LIFT, who will help us operate the facility. Now, what does that mean? Who is LIFT? The Obama administration created 18 agency consortia to support manufacturing in the U.S. called Manufacturing USA. Spread across the country, these institutes are public-private partnerships that each have a distinct focus but work toward common goal to secure the future of U.S. manufacturing through innovation, education, and collaboration. They conduct research, they educate and bring manufacturers together to develop latest technologies in areas like cybersecurity, composites, biomedical, supply chain, textiles, robotics, 3D printing, just to name a few. LIFT, an agency in Detroit, has agreed in principle to lease our space for 3 years to address their backlog of work. One of the questions you may ask, if I was in your shoes, well, how are you going to sustain it after that agreement is over? The plan is to generate revenue needed to operate and facilitate through leasing contracts, grants, programs, and patents. Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina, has a facility that's similar, although smaller in scope, where they program toward textiles and furniture manufacturers, which helps them remain self-sustaining. MXD, another Manufacturing USA agency, is also interested in offering their expertise as well to develop plans for self-sustainment. The expectation is zero cost to the county upon maturity. The AB Tech Foundation will be the lead applicant and perform the tasks required for the grant. Co-applicants, in the EDA's mind, are standing with the applicant to ensure the grant's success. By being a co-applicant, the county would solidify your support along with other partners. We've been told that county support is paramount to the grant's success, as no other North Carolina ED grant application has been successful without it. We will measure our outcomes as most of you would suspect. Workers trained annually, certifications and degrees earned, job placement rates, employment increases, new jobs. We expect to see innovation pipeline where applied research is taught and transitions from university to manufacturers. Advanced technology is introduced and inserted into regional manufacturing. Patents will be awarded. Increased expenditures in research and development will all happen right here in Western North Carolina and not at the Research Triangle Park. This will also lead to new manufacturing cluster further diversifying our economy, meaning gross domestic product growth, wage growth, and existing business expansion. So what I'm asking you tonight, say yes to a vision for Western North Carolina's economic prosperity. Say yes by codifying that support by pledging $5 million from Article 46 as half of the match from the EDA grant. Also, I would ask that you consider being a co-applicant to the grant as a sign of support to the federal government that you believe in the vision for the future. I will tell you, this is a competitive process, so we want to submit this proposal as quickly as possible. We'll hear from the EDA one way or the other within 6 to 8 months. At that point, we can formalize the acceptance of the grant if it's the will of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gossett. Commissioners, are there questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Gossett, and very excited to see the potential of this project, and R&D certainly could be a game changer for our region. And being able to increase wages, as you mentioned, is certainly one of our strategic priorities, especially looking at economic mobility and opportunity for our community members, as well as the diversified economy. So thank you for all that. And I just have a clarification question there that you were touching on, because I know when I read through the narrative commitments, it said that AB Tech had the commitment of funding post-construction for operations and facility management. So I think that may have been what you were speaking to, because the county is responsible, right, for not necessarily for operations. We do fund part of the operations for AB Tech, but we certainly do for facility management.
Sure.
And you said no cost to the county at maturity. So I just wanted to seek some clarification on that.
That is our goal, to reach no cost to the county through those leasing of property, the other forms of revenue development. We can offer classes at cost, which moves away from our tuition-based model, but the state allows community colleges to offer what we call self-sustaining classes. So if it's a high-demand, high-cost program, we can offer that at market rate, if you will. So, our regular classes are $76 a credit hour. If we find this specialized kinds of things that we're talking about, and we need to charge $1,000 a student, the state allows us a mechanism by which we can do that. We obviously build in then the cost of operation, which would include the county's obligations toward running that building. All of that cost structure, whether it's a lease, a patent agreement, all includes cost of operation.
Thank you for the clarification.
Are there other questions, comments? If not, I call for a motion to recuse me as the chair from the budget amendment vote.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Sloan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vice Chair Moore, I will let you take the budget amendment from here.
All right, I will do my best to imitate Amanda. I think we've had a question and answer opportunity. Plenty excited about this. This is asking for affirmation of this project, I guess kind of informally, or not formally signing or agreeing, co-applying for this application. Does anyone have any questions about the form of the motion that would be needed at this point? Further questions about our role?
I thought we were doing a budget amendment.
You do a budget amendment too? But I think it's kind of a two-parter, if I'm understanding correctly. Is that right, or do you just want
I have two requests, yes, sir. Yeah. The $5 million to serve as part of the match for the grant, and then the request for the co-application.
Right.
Or to be co-applicant on the grant.
May I ask a budgetary question?
Sure.
So this will come from Article 46, Article 46, Sales Tax Fund, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the health of that fund after these funds are moved, do we feel confident? Maybe
That's
a
in your
question for
packet as
John.
well, yeah.
So yes, we will use fund balance in the AB Tech fund of previously received Article 46 sales tax funds to leverage this $5 million. It will add an additional $44,330 to the budget, but we're leveraging the remaining budget from the AB Tech workforce project, which will no longer go forward.
I see. Thank you.
And just to be completely clear, Commissioner White says, and I sit on that Joint Capital Committee, we are nowhere close to zero, for whatever that's worth. We can break it into two motions if needed, if we want to have one that's just the co-application piece and the budget amendment, but we do need both, or at least that's the current ask.
Shouldn't we do the co-app first?
We should.
So let me ask another question before we do the co-op.
Yes.
So, okay, so with that one, because I have the budget amendment here in front of me, but the co-op I don't. So with that, you're asking for the county to be a co-applicant, and you explain, basically, it sounded like the necessity of it to really make it a strong application.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I just want to be clear on what the specific ask is from the county.
Is that
To be co-applicant, because like when I read down the narrative, it breaks everything down and says what each entity, like it said, what AB Tech was responsible for, each of the different entities. But since we're just now being asked, it didn't have us included in that, and it didn't provide any kind of breakdown.
Right. We met with our EDA representative yesterday morning, who told us about the strength that you bring to the application. Typically, the applicant is the one who performs all of the tasks of the grant. The AB Tech Foundation is the applicant for the grant. We will then be responsible for making sure that the money moves the way it needs to move, that the construction moves the way it needs to move. The co-applicant, from what was described to us yesterday morning, is more of a sign of support than anything else. There's no, to my knowledge, day-to-day request of the county for this grant.
I just had one question. Would the county be required to sign any documents as part of the grant application that you all are making as a co-applicant?
I don't know the answer to that.
So Commissioners, I want to weigh in here because
I'm getting a yes from our grant author.
Commissioners, I do want to weigh in real quick because what's before you tonight is the budget amendment to allocate the $5 million. The co-applicant is a new request that staff has not yet quite vetted. So my ask is if we can pause on the co-applicant conversation so that we can vet it. We do have a meeting set up with Land to Sky and with Dr. Gossett to make sure we fully understand the obligations and the commitment that is required of staff as a co-applicant, of the county as a co-applicant. We will love to get that done. The meeting is on the books, and we can bring that back as quickly as possible for that vote. The object here is to get to yes, because I'm strongly with you, Commissioner Wells, that this is a game changer for Western North Carolina. So we need to get to yes. But before we can get to yes, I just want to make sure we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed. And I've shared that with Dr. Gossett before. And so tonight, if we can do the budget amendment that's been fully vetted, we 100% agree the money is there. We're just reallocating it and give us a chance to work through where we are with the co-applicant piece, the obligations, and the commitments that is being asked of the county. To county attorney's point, we know we'll be signing documents. We're coming late to the party, but we want to get up to speed so we can all be standing shoulder to shoulder. Sounds like Taylor. And making sure we're all on the same page and we're aligned as we move forward with this project. It is a game changer. Our goal is to get to yes, but we want to make sure we do that in a methodical and well thought out manner.
Let me ask you this, like if we did that and bringing that to the next meeting, is that going to any way negatively impact our chances at being able to get this? So that
Quite possibly, yes, ma'am. It's a competitive process. Organizations all across the country are applying for a finite set of dollars with the EDA. So yes, it would be our wish to submit this grant as quickly as possible. Can I say 3 weeks, 2 weeks makes a difference? I cannot say that. I can only assume that it would because this process has been open for about a month or so. 4 months. It's been open for 4 months.
How long are they typically open? I have no frame of reference for this.
I have no.
I've asked that question, and Eric is here and can answer it better, but there's no end date?
Until the money runs out, I think is the answer.
So we're just a race against the clock of some abstract
Against,
idea of when it-
against a finite amount of dollars that the EDA has to distribute. Yes, sir.
How many applications are we expecting? Do you know?
I do not know. Erica, do you know?
it's
Erica's
competitive
much more
across the
detailed
United
or much more
States.
involved in the details.
I'm asking for some guess because competitive doesn't really help me much.
Hi. So this is a nationwide call for projects, and they're all handled out of DC this time. So this is for anyone who's, any county in the country who's had a disaster during 2023 or 2024. So it's pretty much everybody. So it's very competitive. There's not a whole lot more I can share than that. They're starting to make decisions. So I'm not sure, like Dr. Gossett said, I'm not sure, what the timeline would be, but.
Well, I take it seriously if we're putting our name on anything, and I want to make sure I'm asking the question. So I will do the attorney thing. More than 50?
Yes.
More than 100?
Applications?
Yes.
Oh, for sure, yes. I think I'm aware of over 20 just out of North Carolina, Western North Carolina.
Okay. So extrapolating that across 50
Yes, sir.
states can do basic math.
And we have, what, over 3,000 counties in the country? Is that right? Is it over 3,000?
Ones that had a disaster in 23 and 24.
Oh, it's just for the disaster count. That's still a lot. We're having that happen every week now.
I have an idea, a suggestion. I think we can make a motion to proceed because we know we want to get to yes, with the caveat though that we need our attorney and our county manager to review these contracts in it as well, to be able to look over that before we've totally committed them to signing. So, I mean, I would feel comfortable with that motion in order to be able to help, but to make sure that our county attorney and the manager is able to look at everything and make sure that they feel good about it from the county standpoint.
Okay, I think that's perfect. Kurt, what level of empowerment do you need? Because as best I can tell, it seems pretty akin to what we would normally do, of vesting county manager with the authority to sign the contract pursuant to review of the application. Does the budget amendment require specific language? No, I understand. I guess I'm asking, do I need to do a full motion, or can I just say motion to approve the budget amendment? That's what I want to do. Motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one recusal. All right, now we removed one of the two questions. Now we can go back to the other one. Is everyone roughly on board with the idea of vesting the power with our county manager and county attorney to do the due diligence to make sure that this application would work in general? We can get into the details in a moment, but just in general, are people supportive of that idea?
I am. I wish I had some sort of draft motion in front of me, but yeah, I'm absolutely generally supportive of moving forward with Averill and the county attorney reviewing everything as they would anything else.
Will that need to be brought back to the board, or can we empower staff to make that decision?
We can empower staff to do that. I think just the form of the motion, I'm happy to make it, but the form of the motion just kind of depends on whether or not anyone has objections or concerns, because my next couple questions are about the logistics for y'all.
how long would it take for us to vet it?
We have a meeting, but we can move that meeting up. We can clear a calendar. I don't know, because as you saw, it's pretty well baked, and we're getting a really in-depth look at it. This would be my first time to really get an in-depth look at it. So I couldn't answer that, but we would make sure we get the time on the calendar to start that.
I concur with the county manager on that.
So if the sentiment is generally that we're, as a board, in favor of this, and it's really just a matter of the details, that's something that y'all two would have been doing anyway. I don't see us needing to get in the way of whatever that looks like. We trust you. You're full county attorney, so do all the things you need to do to protect us. But if everyone's generally on board with it, I don't see a reason to not make a motion along the lines of what Commissioner Wells said, of motion to empower the county manager and county attorney to proceed with the co-application pending appropriate due diligence relative to whatever language they put before us. We don't have anything before us, so we can't make that a normal thing, but we can empower them to sign off on that with our blessing.
Is that your motion?
It is.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Chairwoman Edwards' recusal. Thank you, sir. We'll look forward to seeing what the next steps look like. Is that sufficient for what you need?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gossett. Thank
And
you,
I will
Vice
now
Chair
return
Moore.
it back to Chair Edwards.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, our next item of business is a request to rename the Fairview Library. Jason Hyatt's joining us.
Good evening. Just quick point of clarification. We're just requesting renaming of the community room, so it's not the full facility.
Thank you for that.
And I'm here to present this request on behalf of the Friends of the Fairview Library to rename the community room at the Fairview branch. This is a request that aligns with our existing county policy for the naming of county-owned facilities, parks, and properties. It seeks to recognize someone who has made a contribution of exceptional quality and significance through decades of involvement in community affairs. And if approved, the renaming request will honor Annie Clark Ager's legacy of support and dedication to literacy and public library service in Buncombe County. You have in your full packet a well-written request from the Friends of the Fairview Library, but it's always nice when we can give it a little bit more of a personal touch. And so I'm joined this evening by noted actor, artist, storyteller, friend of the library, and Fairview community member Becky Stone to share just a few additional remarks about Annie.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to share a few words about Annie Ager. Fairview is a great community. I live there, but that is not what makes it great. But how do you work on building community? We can take Annie Clark Ager as an example because she did it and she has done it all her life, built community. Long before Hickory Nut Gap Farm became an event space, Annie's family home was open to the Fairview community for events, visits, tours, potlucks, and square dances, open to anyone regardless of their status in the community or their race or what church they went to. She gave time to people in the region to ride her horses, for example, while the horses themselves are housed and taken care of out of the kindness of her heart. I doubt if Annie has paid for any of the 40 horses she uses for camp. She rescued them. Hickory Nut Gap Farm Camp existed for years by the good graces of Annie and her sister Susie at their homes to anyone in the community. My 4 children went there for free because I volunteered at the camp. But really, did anyone pay? This family-run camp existed long before it became a charitable, organized program. How many children fell in love with horses or art or hiking because of Annie and Susie? Everything in which Annie has been involved was an outreach to the people of Fairview. Saving the elementary school gym so that it could serve as a community center meant that Food for Fairview had a home. Youth basketball teams had a place to practice. The Fairview Amateur Theatrical Society had a place to perform its shows. And people could celebrate birthdays, weddings, confirmations, reunions, and oh, so much more. Annie and John Ager could have sent their children to private schools like the one she and John attended, but they deepened their roots in Fairview by sending their 4 boys to Fairview Elementary and A.C. Reynolds Middle and High School. And her support of the Fairview branch of the library has fostered great love for and use of this invaluable resource, because everyone feels welcome there and safe there. Everyone. And now we get the chance to name our community room after someone who has centered her life on building our community. I cannot think of anyone more deserving of this honor. On behalf of the Friends of Fairview Library and the entire Fairview community, I thank you for considering this request to honor Annie Clark Ager's legacy, her dedication to making Buncombe County a better place for all of us. Thank you. Jason.
Thank you, Ms. Stone.
Thank you, Becky. You already know that Buncombe County Public Libraries make a difference in the lives of our Buncombe County residents and visitors every single day. We're extraordinarily grateful to the support and work that Annie Ager has given to our library system over the years to help expand and enhance library services. And I'm grateful for your ongoing support of our libraries and your consideration of this request to honor Annie by renaming the community room.
Thank you, Jason. I can't personally think of anyone that doesn't, more than Annie Clark Ager, that comes to mind when I think of the word community. So I think it's incredibly fitting for the community room in the Fairview Library to be named in honor of Annie. Do we have a motion to approve this
So
request?
moved.
Thank you.
I've known Annie for over 60 years and watched her in the community and what she's done. I agree. I can't think of anyone during this time who have done more for the community, she and her family.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitesides. I think Commissioner Horton had a second. Is there any further discussion or comments that anyone wanted to make about Annie? All right. Yeah.
Extremely so.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Jason. And Ms. Stone, thank you for joining us. That was terrific. Okay, we have a few budget carry forwards, and John is joining us again.
So this budget amendment is for annual budget carry forwards for those goods and services budgeted in annual funds in fiscal year 25, for which goods were not received or put in service or services were unable to take place. There are $609,656 of carry forwards in the general fund, largely due to vehicle purchases and a site study. This amendment calls for these expenses to be balanced by an appropriation of fund balance. The transportation fund has carry forwards of $1,161,700 due to capital outlay. $923,034 of those expenses will be reimbursed by federal revenues, and the remaining $238,666 will appropriate fund balance in that fund. The Solid Waste Enterprise Fund has $1,760,000 of expenses related to capital outlay, and this will be balanced by an appropriation of fund balance in that fund. Finally, the Property Insurance Fund requires carry forwards of pending expenditures of $49,840 related to claims for solid waste equipment and park fencing damage, and will appropriate fund balance for those expenses. Are there any questions on this amendment?
John, I just missed what you said on the general fund. Can you say that again, please?
The general fund will appropriate fund balance to balance those
No,
expenditures.
I'm sorry. What did you say? Sorry, the carry forward from the general fund. What did you say were the main items?
Largely vehicle purchases and a site study.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Wells and Commissioner Sloan for the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carry forward. Amendment passes. Thank you, John. All right, our next item, John is not moving from that podium. We have our EMS-based budget consolidation and adjustments.
I am going to bring Robert Brown back up here to talk about EMS spaces. I can only say I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
Thank you for having
Glad
me
you're joining us
again. This is a discussion for consolidation and for amendments to the EMS budgets. The agenda will be the EMS West Regional Base Budgets Consolidated, EMS East Facility Information, EMS East Budget Increase Request, and basically that is the EMS we have just bid for Owen Pool location. West Regional Station Budget Consolidation Request, what we are requesting the budgets be consolidated for are for the land purchase, designer total fees, survey cost, geotechnical costs, special inspections cost, construction materials testing costs. Understanding that a lot of these costs are in the future coming to us for us to continue forward with the project. We would like to take the FY25 EMS West Regional Base Land and Design and add the FY23 West Asheville EMS Base Design and FY25 EMS Local Base Design together, adding $1,352,190 for a total of $3,112,190. This would not increase our debt.
Sorry, where is or what is the local base? EMS local base?
The local base is not assigned. That's
Okay.
That is the issue.
Gotcha.
We do not have a piece of property.
Right.
To be able to move forward. In this case, this would allow us to actually get the property as well as move forward with a design.
The local base project, we would close that project. It's had no activity. So at this point, we would not pursue that project. The West Asheville EMS based design, if you remember, we did pay for a study at the Asheville Primary School site. So there is some budgets spent on that. We would leverage the remaining budget and the budget from the EMS local base to the West Regional base to procure land and finish design of a regional facility at that location. So local based design one that has had no activity will close that, and the West Asheville one, since it has had some activity, you will see that for closures in the spring.
Commissioners, I'll ask. Robert, can you explain the difference between local and regional?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think, local was just a smaller footprint, and we would not do that if we can do the regional. So you want to speak to that real quickly?
Yeah, that's the part I'm.
So a local base basically has 3 bays, houses up to 12 personnel in sleeping quarters. A regional, which when I say 3 bays, that means 6 vehicles that are captured in the apparatus area. A regional base has 5 bays or 10 vehicles. It also has a greater staff capacity, and it also has a much larger supply capacity because a regional base supplies the other bases as well. That's sort of the round picture. It's a much bigger facility. Supporting a greater area as well.
That's helpful. So what you're saying is with us doing this West Regional base, we won't do a West Ash or a local base. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions for Robert?
And so just to clarify, for the FY23 West Asheville EMS based design, there's been roughly $48,000 spent when that was on the West Asheville study?
Yes.
Correct. That
Okay.
we thought.
All bills are paid.
We were looking at the Asheville Primary School site, so we did a full study of that, and we used that money from that line item.
Okay, helpful, thank you.
Okay, I need the presentation back. All right, EMS East at Owen Pool. It has an address now of 750 Old US 70 Highway in Swannanoa, North Carolina. We've designed a 12,214 square foot facility. And it has 3 bays, or double-loaded bays, if you will. It's equipped with an exhaust protection system. It has 6 high-speed bay doors, which increases the efficiency to getting to the events. It will house 12 personnel or 12 bedrooms, multiple shifts. It has office area, watch room, day room, kitchen and dining areas, medical supply room, equipment storage room, copy and file room, a decontamination room, laundry room that is contiguous to that, 6 individual toilet and shower rooms, triage room, triage toilet room, data electrical mechanical room, 27 space parking lot at the EMS, and then a 19 space supplemental parking lot for Owen Pool. And then it is designed to meet the lead resolution of gold in total as a full electric, along with EV and solar panels. The supplemental spaces are because we are basically putting the facility on the front parking lot of Owen Pool that's next to the highway. So we're having to make up some spaces to be able to meet the requirements for their occupancy.
Was this one, so is this one, I was thinking this was a regional base as well.
No, ma'am.
This one is not considered a regional base.
The footprint isn't there for that.
Okay.
All right. So the current budget allocated is $6,600,000. We're asking for an increase of $3,398,000 to capture a total debt of $9,998,000. The items listed are basically the total project expenses. To kind of get to the full of that, all the design cost, all the testing, all of the construction cost, all of the equipment, all of the bedrooms, everything that has to occur in this total project will fit within that budget request. And we do have a bid. So it has been bid, so I have a solid price for the construction cost. And on most other of the items, we have quotations.
And why did it increase over $3 million from?
I can answer that. So this was budgeted or considered basically in 21-22. For each year, there's an escalation that was not accounted for at that time because it didn't understand the increase in escalation on an annual basis that we have been experiencing for a number of years now. There are also some materials equations now relative to the pricing on materials in our current environment. Those costs have gone up, and we also have a large number of competition for the contractors in our area now. We have a huge amount of construction going on. So, you know, supply and demand. Supply, one, we did not have the full estimate realized at the time because it was very difficult to do that. And two, we certainly could not have realized the supply and demand issues post-Helene and in our current environment. That's my best try at that.
I think the biggest part of what he said is that we didn't have the full cost in that original budget estimate. So we know we had to go for bid and get a full cost. So that, in my mind, was more of a placeholder than it was a final budget. And when we went out for bids, that's when he started talking then about all the inflation that we've seen, and we did not but our budget is a static number. It does not factor in all those escalation as years go by.
This is classified as an essential facility in our North Carolina Building Code. It is somewhat of a recent modification to the structural, which requires a great deal more earthquake and a great deal more wind resistance and fortification of the facility, where you would have seen in prior EMS facilities post or pre that estimation, you would have been able to see a metal building go in. It's a basic structure, substantially lower cost for the structure of it. Just to let you know that.
Thanks for that clarification. And then the expectation is bond funds for this? Is that?
Yes, this would be in our CIP. We had planned to debt finance this, but we're also going after any other grant funding that we can get to offset that cost. So we would not be issuing debt until we have our bids in hand and we're further down the road, which gives us some time to go after some other grant funding, especially after Helene.
Are there any other questions for Robert or John? Not, do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Commissioner Whitesides, Commissioner Wells. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Amendment passes. Thank you. All right. Our last item of new business is a carry forward from our 3 p.m. meeting, which is now on the agenda. And this is in regards to the Mission Hospital Trauma Center. The commissioners were asked to provide comments and input to this. And being that this is a public discussion, we discussed it today. We've brought it forward for further discussion and approval. And Commissioner Ball, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, I can outline this letter. So the North Carolina Office of Emergency Medical Services, which sits within the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, has contacted us to request comments regarding Mission Hospital's application for initial designation as a Level 1 trauma center. DHHS will hold a site visit at Mission Hospital in coordination with the American College of Surgeons on September 25th and 26th. Mission is currently designated as a Level 2 trauma center, and a Level 1 trauma center is the highest designation a healthcare facility can receive for caring for severely injured patients. As a deliberative body, we have not had much of opportunities to discuss this publicly, so I think it's important that we take this opportunity to outline our values and potential concerns about the new designation. It's important to note that the hospital's application has not been made available, and without that, we cannot evaluate what HCA is committed to doing differently. But the Office of Emergency Medical Services does have that capacity and ability to make a full evaluation. So I think that we all fully support the availability of the highest quality trauma care for Western North Carolina. And in fact, this new designation could ultimately be positive for patients, staff, and the region if done right. But before taking, or even, I should say, before taking on greater responsibilities, it's critical that Mission ensure that current services are adequate. And it's important that a new status designation not exacerbate ongoing issues. We all know that Mission Health and HCA Healthcare have had numerous well-documented operational and staffing issues in recent years. So I believe our most significant concerns should center around potential impacts to patient quality of care, cost to patients, and access to services. It's unclear whether a new Level 1 designation at Mission would expand resources or improve outcomes. It is clear that such a designation has substantially increased revenue for HCA and other markets. So for patients and families here in Buncombe County, there's a potential this new designation could result in patients facing thousands of dollars in additional medical debt without any assurance of better care. So with this letter, we are simply urging OMES to fully scrutinize whether Mission's ER staffing, care culture, and recent performance align with Level 1 standards, and whether or not a new status designation might exacerbate ongoing issues. So I want to reiterate that this letter does not oppose nor endorse a designation, but we just want to ensure that OEMS collects all relevant information and makes a well-informed decision. And so with this letter, we will urge OEMS to scrutinize whether Mission's ER staffing, care culture, and recent performance align with Level 1 standards, fully evaluate any commitments Mission is making to address deficiencies, and consider the potential impact on patients' costs, care, and access. So with that, I respectfully ask for unanimous support and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Ball. Are there comments or questions?
I'll just say thank you for the time that you put into doing this. Definitely, I appreciate that. I think we all appreciate it. And I'm very concerned, right, around that quality of care and certainly the cost to patients, as you mentioned. And obviously, that is a priority. And if they're able to address all that and we were able to have a level 1 care trauma, I mean, that is a positive for the community as well. But thank you for spotlighting this and asking the appropriate folks to look into it.
Yeah, that was very well stated, Commissioner Wells. Thank you. I think we can all agree we share those concerns.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to?
Is there anyone else that want to questions, comments, additions? Okay. If not, do we have? Oh, are you sure? Okay. Okay. I don't want anybody to not have an opportunity to speak.
So you had mentioned during the briefing that we missed the deadline, but you spoke to the Department of Health and Human Services, and they're going to accept the letter?
Yes, Commissioner Hurt, thank you for asking. Yeah, I did call DHHS and spoke with staff there and let them know we have not had a lot of opportunities to discuss this publicly as a body, and asked if they would honor our comments if they come in this week, and they said, yes, please send them over. And they also informed us that the original recipient outlined in the letter is now retired, so they gave us the correct contact as well.
Well, and thank you also. Thank you so much for putting in that effort and that work.
Thank you.
And I'll applaud that effort, specifically around this intersection between making sure that we're advocating, I'm not going to attempt to repeat that nearly as well as you did, certainly couldn't from memory. But I think the quality of care points and the many, many areas that we operate in terms of having the facts that we need to be able to articulate what our position is going to be, along with transparency and making sure that we're doing it in public. If you give me my way, I will offer my opinion any day of the week. That is not transparent or helpful to the community in terms of understanding where we lie as a body, and I think it's really helpful, albeit frustrating, to hold ourselves back a little bit from making the response that we want to in the moment. But I appreciate that you were willing to put this together, and that we're balancing that transparency against making an articulable, strong plea for our community to have the highest quality of care possible.
With that, I will call for a motion to approve the letter to send to DHHS.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Second by Commissioner Whitesides. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Great work, y'all. Thank you so much. We do have some board appointments to make this evening, so we pull out those lists. All right, first up on our list, we do have some reappointments to make on our Board of Adjustments.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Sloan.
I'll go ahead and make a motion here. I think due to both the importance of this board and the increased interest we've seen in boards and commissions since the lien, I'd like to make the motion that we instruct the clerk to advertise the currently open slots for this board, and that we'll do appropriate interviews after that.
Second.
Great. Thank you all. Are there any questions?
I totally agree with that.
Fantastic. All right. All in favor of reopening these positions and advertising them, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. And Sarah and Stacy will work on that for us. And then at a later date, we will set a time to hold interviews once that has been open for an appropriate amount of time. And the folks who are currently serving are certainly welcome to reapply. We've had so many, even our next round of appointments that we're about to make, our planning board, our Swananoa Small Area Plan, even our Parks and Greenways, we have had such interest in the work that we're doing and people participating. I think this is a great opportunity to engage some folks across our community in some important quasi-judicial decisions on behalf of the county.
And just for clarity, Madam
Yes.
Chair, the folks who are on here do not need to reapply, do they? They roll over if they are already submitted. Has that been our standard practice, or are we making them reapply? Because these are sitting members.
It's a great question. To have theirs. That's what I was thinking.
Sounds good.
or to at least have them revise, update. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you for that clarification. All right, our next board appointments and reappointments are Parks, Greenways, and Recreation Advisory Committee. Those are 2-year terms, and we have 3 appointments with 3 recommendations. Do I have a motion?
I move that we appoint Jennifer Cook, Leslie Young, and Christina, oh dear God, DePooch?
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Our clerks will also let them know that they've been reappointed.
Sorry, Christina.
All right, commissioners, in regards to boards and commissions that you serve on in your official commissioner capacity, are there any updates for meetings that you have had or serve on? All right. Our next briefing and regular meeting will be held on September 2nd, starting at 3 p.m. right here in Commissioner Chambers. Kurt, I believe we have a closed session this evening. Will you share that with us?
We do. I need a motion that the Buncombe County Commissioners go into closed session for the following reason: to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken on or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. The statutory authority for this closed session is contained in General Statute 143.318.11, subsection A5.
Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Ball, Horton, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are in closed session and we do not anticipate.
I do not anticipate having to go. There will be no announcement.
So we
or
will
anything after.
adjourn from our closed session. All right, thank you everyone for joining us who has stuck around for the rest of the meeting.